first started transcribing, I started with just licks. Like, oh, here's this one phrase that I really like. Let's just start with that. And then I'll learn to play it, maybe learning it a couple different keys. And then, okay, now that lick is kind of in my repertoire. And then start to develop, okay, here's 5, 6, 7, 8 licks that I've transcribed. And then you get into, okay, now here's a whole solo. Here's 12 bars. Here's 16 bars. Here's 32. Here's 64. Here's 8 choruses on rhythm changes. Here's a 45 bar blues or 45 chorus blues solo. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. But definitely starting simple. People like Miles Davis, people like Paul Desmond on the alto is super beautiful and melodic. But again, just start with one lick that you like and let that be the springboard to going forward.
When I'm soloing, I'm not usually thinking of actual like changes in terms of their names. When you do a tune, like a jazz tune, and you do another one and you realize, oh, it might be in a different key, but this is the exact same changes as whatever, I'm in the mood for love. It just feels like it. And so if you have any sort of transcription solo on any of those tunes, you can apply it in those different changes, but it's more I'm not necessarily thinking of the specific notes and licks and stuff. It's more like a feeling of, oh, this fits here, I guess. I want to add it to my toolbox. I want it to be a part of my vocabulary. Like whatever they're doing, even if I don't do it exactly like this, which, by the way, I love pulling out like just like on a gig, like being able to just have a solo that I know is so, like I at least feel so good when I hear it that I'm just going to play it. But having all those elements and then suddenly, you might be improvising and something pops out and you're like, oh, that was deep in there. I've just kept it with me,
Yeah, a lick in all 12 keys is great. That's how you expand your vocabulary and you're able to put it in whatever situation you're in. I feel like you can then, once you have it transcribed and you can look at it and you know the patterns, like then you can start taking, like, all right, these 4 bars of this Chet Baker solo, I really like, maybe not the exact lick he played, but the shape that the lick had. And then you can start trying to build up your own licks based on that shape, and you're like, all right, so it was like an 8th note bass lick that went, a couple steps up, and then he jumped an octave down, and then he went up again, and then he like jumped up a 5th or whatever it might be. Like finding that shape and then trying to mimic it with your own personal lick, I think is really important. And yeah, just being in a spot where you feel comfortable, like immersing yourself in all that vocabulary and being able to use it in whatever situation you find yourself in. Like that's the goal. That's the end game for the transcribing.
Transcribing multiple solos from the same person, or transcribing multiple different people on the same tune. I found the most benefit in like the analysis after the fact. Like once you have it down, now you have something that you can look at. Sometimes these are things that you're hearing, but once you have it on paper, or once you have it under your fingers if you're playing it, that kind of allows those things to kind of like actually sink in, where it's like, oh yeah, like on this turnaround they always tend to play like this sort of shape. It also, I think, is useful because I ended up transcribing a lot of stuff that I can't play on the instrument. So like transcribing guitar solos, transcribing piano solos, transcribing drum solos, transcribing even saxophone or trumpet solos that kind of have a wide range that are really fast, or something that I can't really play on the horn, or that to me wouldn't really be practical to play on the horn. I found a lot of benefit in transcribing stuff like that, and then going back and analyzing it and being like, well, what are they doing here? And then what's a way that I can translate that to how I play, or like even just translate that to the trombone. Because sometimes, a pianist will play a line that spans 3 octaves or something. And it's like, well, even if I was able to play that, it probably wouldn't, it's not going to have the same effect on the trombone, and it probably isn't going to sound, it's not going to sound the same at all. So it's like, well, maybe like, well, what's the general shape that they're using over this wide ranging line? Is there some way that I can like translate that? What are the sounds that they're emphasizing over this progression? Can I do that and come up with my own lines that use that idea? So for me, transcribing turned into sort of like digging into for things I could play, I would always try to dig into phrasing and articulation. Obviously like being able to play the lines, but getting into like how different players approach like time feel, like how their eighth notes lie, how they articulate certain things, and trying to get into that as opposed to just like, oh, learn this line because it works over this 2/5. And you know, by digging into all that, you still learn the line anyways. So it's like, I don't know. But then it's like, well, can I use any of this in like the way that I play?